It's yet another book the White House tried and failed to stop being published. The tale, for the most part, of Donald Trump's past, about the role of the alleged emotional neglect of his parents in forming the man. The president's younger brother, Robert, on the left here, led the legal action against the book, which he says sensationalizes relationships for financial gain. But the author is the president's niece, Mary, a psychologist. She says she's the only Trump willing to tell the story of what she calls the world's most powerful family. And she hopes a court's restraining order on her speaking out will not be allowed to stand.
We've opposed that. The Supreme Court has never upheld a prior restraint in any case in history where political speech was involved. That's what this is. It's an important book about the President of the United States.
In the US, the book has replaced John Bolton's The Room Where It Happened at the top of many bestseller charts, even though it's not released until next week. And with the former assistant of the First Lady, Melania, also soon to publish, Mr. Trump might be justified in feeling under fire from all sides.
And Jonathan joins me now from the newsroom. Jonathan, first, how close is Mary to Donald Trump?
Well, she's estranged from him, Kathy, even more so after this book. The book is good on psychological evaluation, not so good on telling anecdote, unlike John Bolton's book. She hasn't forgiven her uncle for going to the cinema on the night that her father, his brother, died. She also hasn't forgiven him for whatever role he played in making sure that Donald Trump's father cut her out of his will. And she writes this about the 2016 election result. It felt as though over 62 million voters had chosen to turn this country into a macro version of my malignantly dysfunctional family. If he's afforded a second term, it would be the end of American democracy. He isn't doing the job, unless watching TV and tweeting insults count. It's the effort to keep the rest of us distracted from the fact that he knows nothing about politics, civics, or simple human decency that requires an enormous amount of work. And she claims that she's writing this book not to make money, but to make sure that people don't vote for him again.
Well, it's absolutely scathing, but tell us a few more specifics about what she's accusing him of.
Well, she says that he paid someone to take his SAT exams so he could go to the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. She says Donald Trump cheats as a way of life. She puts a lot of the blame for this at his own parents and for the emotional and psychological neglect that she says that they inflicted. And she writes this: Donald's penchant for division and devastating uncertainty about our country's future have created a perfect storm of catastrophes that no one is less equipped than my uncle to manage. His ability to control unfavourable situations by lying, spinning and obfuscating has diminished to the point of impotence in the midst of the tragedies we're currently facing. So strong stuff.
It is indeed, and fascinating. And also she is a psychologist by trade. So what does she make of Donald Trump's mental state?
Well, she tries to work that out. She says the problem is that he won't submit to a barrage of psychological tests. And she also wonders what the effect of 12 fizzy drinks a day has on the president, as do many others. She reaches this conclusion. A case could be made, she writes, for antisocial personality disorder. He may have a long undiagnosed learning disability that for decades has interfered with his ability to process information. And she goes on, Donald requires division. It's the only way he knows how to survive. My grandfather ensured that decades ago when he turned his children against each other. But he can never escape the fact that he is and always will be a terrified little boy. Now, the fact remains that the COVID crisis and the state of the US economy are things that Donald Trump has to worry about far more than this book. But nevertheless, it is the first time a member of the family has turned against him so very publicly.